this story, I'll be real frank with you. It makes my blood boil, and not at the person who is involved in it, not at the person at the epicenter of it. It makes my blood boil because it's a case in sports where the people who are the governing body and the people who are in charge are way too, in my estimation, cowardice and don't have a backbone to simply tell someone no. They're afraid. They're cowards. And at Dateline, Cambridge, Massachusetts, Philadelphia Inquirer, Penn swimmer Leah Thomas won the 500-yard freestyle race at the Ivy League Championship Thursday night, accelerating past her competitors to establish a new record at Harvard's pool. The auditorium boomed with cheering athletes and fans as Thomas swam neck and neck with her competitors for the first part of the race. Around the halfway mark, Thomas took a significant lead and finished 4 minutes, 37.72 seconds, about 3 seconds off her personal best, and edging the pool record by 0.3 of a second. In second place, yada, 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 this person from Penn, who was 7 seconds behind. That's the story, right? Okay, it's the Ivy League swim meet, but it's really not the story. Thomas is a 22-year-old transgender woman who entered the Ivy League championships, which are going on right now, as the top seed in 3 events. And the top times in the country. She holds the fastest times in the country among NCAA women in the 200 and 500 freestyle. Now, there's a lot there, and this story has been detailed throughout the year. There have been, at various times this year, there have been pushes both supporting and speaking out against Thomas. 16 Penn swimmers sent a letter saying they did not advocate Thomas swimming in the postseason. There were a smaller group of people that said we do advocate her swimming in the postseason. And for the sake of establishing balance here, Thomas swam for 3 years as a man on Penn's men's team. If I was the parent, if I was a swimmer that was a female, and I had funneled a lot of my energy into trying to win the Ivy League or trying to win the NCAA or whatever, and then a trans woman came and beat me, I don't think it's unfair to say this is unfair. I don't understand. The people with the Ivy League, the people with the NCAA, and most of all the people at Penn, they are cowards for simply not telling this person, no, you can't swim with the girls. You spent 3 years swimming with the men. I don't understand any of this.
But then, and I'm going to take the other tack here, just because I think there's got to be two sides to this somehow. She did undergo all the, I guess, protocols, for lack of a better word, all the qualifications, all the stipulations that I believe the NCAA or the Ivy League have laid down that qualify her to race in the women's side of things. There was, I don't know to be quite honest, I don't know the specifics of her gender assignment, like whether she's had gender reassignment surgery. I think I read when we talked about this a few months ago, she had undergone a lot of hormone treatment. So I think this is just, I don't know how to handle a situation where someone is identifying as one gender and still possessing the qualities of the other gender.
I know how to handle it. You tell them no. But everybody's too damn afraid in our society. The people at Penn, they're afraid to alienate the transgender community. They're afraid. Look.
Why is it fear, though, I guess?
Because of reprisal and because of their jobs. Because we have to tell everybody yes. I can, and I do, think the lifestyle is okay and absolutely fine, whatever decision you want to make. But I can also, it doesn't have to be an all or nothing situation. I can also say, you're a man. You were a man. You're undergoing a transformation.
Yeah.
You can't swim for a women's title. Let's do the math here. This person went from ranked 462nd in the men's field to first in the women's field. We'd be naive to think that there's not some advantage by simply switching sides and going and swimming with the women. 462nd to first. To say that there's not some advantage, 6'1", Most of the women she's swimming against are between 5'5" and 5'7". We talked all about when Michael Phelps was swimming, how much of an advantage the size of his feet, the length of his arms, his lung capacity had, all of that. No matter what reassignment happens, you still carry that from one to the other when you're born a man and become a woman with gender reassignment. It is patently unfair. And I applaud the girls and their families at Penn who said, this is ridiculous. But the administrators there, the people with the Ivy League, the people with the NCAA, freaking cowards. Cowards.
I can't agree with you there. I'm sorry. They're not cowards.
If this was my daughter, I'd say, and she had spent, not her life, but it was one of her goals to win the Ivy League. What do you do? How do you explain that to your daughter who goes to Princeton or to Yale or to Brown or to Dartmouth or wherever, and you go and you say, hey, you did really well. This person who swam on Penn's men's team last year now is going to swim in your field that was a boy on that other team last year, and now they're going to swim against you and they're going to beat you. Well, tough luck. Tough luck.
It's not tough luck. This person has decided that they are now undergoing the process, that they are a woman now.
Well,
right?
women's sport, if this was basketball, people would be furious. If there was, let's say that somebody played for, and let's keep it to the same team because they did it here with Penn. Let's say that somebody played for, what's kind of like a team, Duke. Duke is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Duke has good teams in both men's and women's. Let's say that there was a man that was a kind of guy on the bench, 8th player for Coach Krzyzewski, and they're okay. They get in at the end of games. They play here and there. They average 2-3 points a game maybe. And they went and they led Duke's basketball team, women's team, the next year to the Final Four and was a leading scorer in the country. People in this country would say, get the hell out of here. This is swimming, so no one cares as much.
Well, I think there's people that are saying that to Leah Thomas, to be quite honest.
But there's not the national uproar.
Well, because
it's swimming.
Yeah, we're talking two completely different sports that have different profiles on the national stage. So I understand your comparison to an extent. I also think it's interesting, and you know, we assume that because she went from being ranked whatever, you gave the number, being ranked very low as a male competitor to being one of the best as a female competitor.
Number one.
We assume that means it's just default. She's going to win every race, right? But when you look at I guess it was the 800 freestyle relay at the Ivy League Championships on Wednesday.
A relay's dependent on 3 other people.
I understand. Let me just finish the point, okay?
I don't look at the relays. I just look at the individuals, but go ahead.
Well, I'm looking at all competition, right? Because we're comparing competitions to competitions. That's what we're doing
I'm
here.
just comparing the individual ones, but continue.
Okay. She finished her leg in first place.
Correct.
0.15 seconds ahead of another transgender athlete, by the way. Now, their team ended up finishing not in first, not in second. I believe they finished third or fourth. Both the teams with transgender athletes ended up not finishing first. The other teams came back and beat them. And to your point, yes, I get it. There's other swimmers involved. There's other athletes involved. But this feels like she's always going to beat us, so we don't want her around. And it's not a given that she's going to beat you. I understand there are perhaps certain physical advantages, right? Because to your point, she was born a man, and so she's a certain size, I guess. And despite all the gender reassignment work that she can undergo, she's still that size, right? She's still 6'1" or whatever she is, and larger than some of the other competitors. But there's no reason there won't be a 6'1" born female, remain female competitor down the road.
And their DNA says there's a female.
Who may be better than you.
Says that they're a female. Like, I also use this, too. Caitlyn Jenner, who is perhaps the most qualified person on this planet to speak about this, strongly opposes it. That to me, says a lot. Strongly opposes it. I can think of no other person who is more qualified to speak on this than Caitlyn Jenner. And they say this isn't right.
Yeah, and again, if she passes all of the things that have been put in front of her to qualify as a female swimmer, Then what are we doing?
I think that's the problem.
Okay.
That's the problem. The powers that be. She doesn't qualify as USA Swimming. See, USA Swimming will not let her swim with the women.
So this is the valuable part of the conversation.
An Ivy League situation.
And why I want to come back around to what your assertion was at the start of the segment. And I understand it's an upsetting topic to some people, especially when we get into the realm of competition. But I think simply calling the governing body in this case and the adults involved, the people involved, cowards, this is not an act of cowardice. This is an act of we're all flailing away in the murky gray here, and we have no idea which direction we're going.
So,
and we're trying to figure out.
Didn't have any problem.
Okay.
They told her you can't swim with the girls.
And we're trying to figure out how we handle things like this on them. It is a moving target, man. Like this is something that, to be quite honest, we haven't faced something like this before. Mm-hmm. It's why everybody's talking about it, because this is the first time we face something like this, and now we're all talking about it to the extent of, okay, well, yeah, we're totally on board with someone if they decide they want to reassign their gender, to go through that process, and they feel like they are more comfortable in that female body than a male body. Okay, like we agree on that, right? We have no problem with the lifestyle.
No, I don't have any problem with the lifestyle.
So then we're trying to reconcile that belief. I believe I have no problem with that lifestyle, and if that's what you want to do with your life, by all means, it's your life, and by all means. But then we're trying to reconcile that with, no, it takes you away from being able to practice the vocation, in this case, that you've practiced your entire life for. So because this person decided to go through gender reassignment, they've also got to essentially say, well, I'll never compete again.
Not against women, no. This is the end of women's sports. It's the end of women's-specific sports, if you allow this.
Well, they've allowed it, and I don't see
USA
the castle
Swimming did
crumbling
not.
to the ground.
It's because it's Ivy League swimming. Let it happen in the NCAA Women's Final Four, and it'll be a much bigger situation.
Oh, again, because it's a more visible sport, and you'll have the same percentage, the same number of people per capita who pay attention to college basketball as pay attention to swimming, saying, this is outlandish, what are we doing this for, how can we allow this to happen? And look, it's entirely possible during our lifetime, forget our lifetimes, in the next 10 to 15 years, we are faced with a situation like that.
But I think women fought for Title IX for stuff exactly, this flies in the face of what they fought for. Flies in the face of it. They fought to have an equal and equitable share in a stage that was equal. This absolutely pierces that wall. And to me, it's I have on my phone and in my text and in my DMs, I have an NCAA champion swimmer that responded to me this morning that's a female and says, this is totally garbage.
Okay, but there are other people who are in support of Leah Thomas, right? Female swimmers, right?
Not that reach out to me.
No, I'm not saying reach out to you. I'm saying on the record.
But when you have people on her own team saying, why are we doing this?
I get
16 people on her own team said she should not compete for a championship.
And other people that said she should be, right?
Not as many on her team, but yes, 5.
Okay, but in this case, I don't know if it's necessarily a democracy, and we say, well, the other people on the team get to decide whether you get to compete or not after you've spent your entire life practicing for these moments.
We could go round and round for hours.
No, I agree we could.
I think that the Ivy League, I think that the NCAA, and I think that the University of Penn, the University of Pennsylvania, otherwise an unbelievable institution, lack of backbone, and are freaking cowards.
Okay.
Total cowards here. That doesn't mean I disagree with anybody's lifestyle. Because here's the other part. Where does it end? Where does it end?
That's the same.
Then just abolish it's a sex assigned to sports.
That's the same argument, Colin, that's been used for alternative lifestyles for the last 50 years.
I'm not talking about a lifestyle. I'm just talking about athletics. I'm not talking about a lifestyle, man.
Okay. So my point is that same argument has been used to discredit people who are either trans or perhaps homosexual.
I'm not saying she can't live. I'm
not.
saying she can't swim against girls.
Okay. So we're telling someone again, because of the decision, and she didn't make this decision because, I'll go from being the 142nd ranked swimmer to the number 1 ranked swimmer. That's the whole goal of this. She made this decision, I would think, under a lot of consternation. Nobody goes through gender reassignment just for the kicks.
But you're missing my whole point, though. I don't know why or what not or what motivation there was. My whole argument is based on this. She has an innate athletic advantage that's inborn that doesn't go away.
And my point is, this person worked their entire life to get to this level of competition. That's one part of my point. The other pillar point is there's nothing saying these women won't face another born female, remains female sized competitor who's just as good, if not better, someday down the line. And you can't simply say, well,
but that's a female.
They're bigger and stronger than us,
but
so I can't compete
said
against
that.
them.
Nobody's ever come out when they've swam against a girl from birth and said, she shouldn't be allowed to swim with us because she's a girl from birth and she's just better. But no one's ever said that, Chris.
Right. So why are they doing it now?
Because this person was a man.
She was.
16 months ago.
She was. And you're delegitimizing the acceptance that we claim we have over transgender issues when you say it's not acceptable for her to compete.
It's a sports issue. It's not a transgender issue.
I don't think it's a conflation to make it about both.
Then what is the solution moving forward? The only true solution we're heading to is getting rid of tags that are based in sex on these sports.
You're stepping on the gas from 0 to 600 there.
Then where's it going?
I think what we've seen play itself out in the Ivy League
women are
going to
say, F this, I'm not doing this. If
That's
I have
not
to swim,
true. Women aren't going to give up competing.
I would tell my daughter, get the hell out of the pool.
Okay.
This isn't fair. And it's not crying over spilled milk. You're swimming against somebody that was a boy 12 months ago.
Okay.
This isn't a true women's championship.
Okay. I disagree,
because
Colin.
USA Swimming agrees with me.
Okay. And it seems like the Ivy League and the NCAA agree with me.
You know why?
So I'm a coward too? Is that what the line we're drawing here? Anybody that agrees that Leah Thomas should be allowed to compete?
If you're a governing body that has control over this, absolutely you would be. Because the Penn is a university with a gigantic endowment. The Ivy League isn't the Mountain West. They're the freaking Ivy League. They got a lot of rich people, right?
Okay.
The NCAA is a gigantic entity as well. They come out and they say, you know what? We don't want a trans person swimming with women. They run the risk of money stopping coming in, particularly at Penn and particularly at the Ivy League.
Aren't they also risking it by allowing her to compete, given the fact that the bulk of people seem to think she shouldn't be allowed?
Because it's not exclusionary at this point. It's all about inclusion right now.
I guarantee you there are big money donors, if we want to make it about that, at Penn and across the Ivy League who are saying, I am no longer supporting this program if you allow her to compete.
I don't think it's anywhere near the people who, if they came out and said, you can't compete, it would absolutely be different the other way. They just sit on their hands and let it go right now because no one has the backbone to come out and say no. People don't hear the word no enough in life anymore. The simple answer right here is no, you can't compete. You're genetically a male. That's the simple answer. They can't do it to run the risk of, because everything is about inclusion. It's about letting everybody do everything, and that's where we are as a society.
Okay. Well, I'm just the woke mob, I guess.
I didn't say that.
I'm not saying you're saying it. I'm just looking at the text line, and the reaction is expectedly off the wall.